ja järgmine ettekanne on inglise keeles. So I am switching to English because our next presentation will be in English and it will explore whether we are really doing BIM or simply saying so, and in reality we are just using new tools with old habits. So the stage is yours. Welcome, Leo O'Neill.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so 15 minutes. I'm a project manager, so I need to deliver on time. Who I am, Leo O'Neill, 25 years of experience, 15 years of that is in Estonia, gladly, happily, and I've learned a lot over the last 15 years. When I came here first, what I thought and what I have reality now, and it's quite interesting. I'm going to be poking the bear, as they say today, but I'm going to be talking about reality of BIM, okay? You know, where we're located, Estonia is our head office, we're proud to say that, and we work in all these different countries. We have an office now in Ireland, with Lithuania, and this year we opened the office in Finland. Let's get into it. Phones. Can you quickly take your phones out and answer this question? Don't be shy. Go on. Phones out, everybody who's involved in BIM, working in BIM, answer this question. Okay. One person has voted. Okay, 2, 3. That's it. I'll give it another 10 seconds. Don't be afraid. Because I've done this because I know Estonians don't like to interact in the sense of asking questions, so it's all anonymous. Okay, 31. Right. Okay, I'll give it another 10 seconds and then... Right, we'll reveal the answer. Ooh. Very interesting. Oh. Keep and vote. Oh, yeah, go on. A few more. Wow. 50-50. That'll be interesting. So let's get through this then and see how that works. Okay, BIM, buzzword. We all talk about BIM. We all have different criterias. BIM is a 3D model. Reality, BIM is the information system. You know, it's not just visual output. And we talk about BIM, and that's what I want to understand today. What is BIM? You know, using Rivet means I'm doing BIM. Not necessarily, and that's the key. And this is also from the designer's perspective, the construction perspective, and the client perspective. You know, BIM is widely adopted. That could be also, so to be true, but in reality, most adoption is model only, not actually true BIM. And that's what we need to get to the bottom of is, are we saying 3D BIM, or are we saying BIM holistically, okay? And the last one then, BIM, clients know what BIM is. No, far from it. Clients haven't a clue what BIM is. And it starts with a client saying, I want this project delivered in BIM, but they don't know what they're asking for. And as designers and construction companies, we need to be selling and offering what actually is reality. So BIM, reality, only a full BIM delivers benefits, not 3D only, okay? So that's BIM, reality, that's what we're selling to the client, okay? But that's what we're giving. We're giving a model. That's the difference. Okay? Despite the narrative, BIM and most projects is 3D modeling. Do you agree, disagree? Or who here says BIM is the full holistic picture? And that's the key. And you'll understand what I'm talking about in a minute and what I mean by that. BIM doesn't stop at 3D. A lot of people say we're BIM implemented, we're a full BIM service, but we're not. We're only delivering part of that service. Here's a good one. I use Excel. Does that mean I'm an accountant? No. You know, I drive a car. Does that mean I'm a Formula 1 rally or racing car? So no, it doesn't. So by saying, you know, we use Rivet, does not mean we're BIM implemented and we're fully BIM coordinated. Okay? Some questions, right? So look at these questions. BIM, do we produce a PEB? How often do we produce it? Yeah? No? In the room? Do we even know what it is? Okay? Second, do we use the EIRs, ARs? Do we do that? You know, do the clients ask for it? Is CDE structure in place? You know? Assets, do we understand the assets delivering do we understand defining the information? What is coming from the client? You know, proof of identification of the BIM. What levels, what criteria, what we're using. You know, COBIA, capacity, who actually understands COBIA. We advertise it, but do we know about it? Most important, life cycle readiness. Because BIM, when does BIM stop? People think BIM is done when the project is finished. Actually, BIM is a life cycle, and BIM should be used throughout FM, recycling of the building, use of the building, okay? And what we end up is, we're in this selling loop, you know? Clients misunderstanding BIM, contractual misunderstanding. So a firm sells modeling in full BIM. We do the full service. But then when you break it down, it's only partial. You know, clients misunderstanding, and that's a key thing. They don't know what they're asking for. And they think, oh, if we're going with BIM, we're going to massive efficiency. We're going to have far quicker project. We can get our permits granted in 3 months. When reality is, it's not the case. Contract under BIM, you know? Again, another misconception. Teams delivery model, not BIM. So you can deliver models, but not necessarily delivering the full BIM service. And outcomes disappointing. Then there's like, well, that really didn't give us much benefit, or it got too complicated and we dropped the BIM halfway through the project, or the contractor came in and said, I can't work with this. So there's a whole ethos, a whole round, and that's a whole misconception on this loop. It's going around in circles. And the confidence gap. What's key is, we see this chart, you know, the ability to make the project efficient. But if we're selling a system like BIM and saying BIM will reduce your project by a certain percentage, it'll fast track your project, and the clients are not seeing the benefit to it, then we're mis-selling. And that's what we have to stop doing. And we have to understand where our capabilities lie. And these are coming from international standards. This is not standing up here today and pointing at Estonia and saying Estonia is failing. Please don't get me wrong. So you can stop with all these horrid looks at me and start smiling. This is a holistic problem. This is what's happening across the globe and Europe. And what I'm trying to say is, in Estonia, let's not be following the leader, or let's not follow down the wrong path. We need to be able to stand up and say what actually can be delivered and develop the 3D BIM until we get into the full holistics of the use of BIM and its benefits, okay? You know, back to again is this difference, like the system versus slogan. You know, the BIM modeling, that's what we're comfortable doing, and that's what most design companies are comfortable doing. Not just 3D modeling. You know, that's what 3D modeling is what's being advertised. Pictures. You know, I've seen several places, and I'm not talking about here, I'm talking about in the UK and Ireland, companies come along and using 4D, promoting 4D. And we say, but funny enough, you only promote it when the project's finished. You don't promote it at the beginning of the project. And we had one company saying to us, yeah, but it was too difficult to put it together during the project, but it's easy to put it together afterwards. And that's to say, this is how 4D would have worked. This is how it would have worked. So that's the misconception, you know? What most clients believe, again, 3D model, better visuals, clash detection, faster design outputs. It has its advantages, don't get me wrong. BIM's not going to go away. But again, know its limitations and understand what we can make right about it. Selling to the client and educating the client is crucial because the client doesn't understand what they're asking for. And if we sell them something that's misleading, then we get back to this loop again, okay? What's important is telling the client that BIM works after handover. BIM works about how you develop your building going forward from an FM perspective, how to manage the building. When you want to sell that asset, the BIM is a big advantage because all the data is there. You know, the lost benefits. Now, this is an interesting one. So, 61% reduced documents and errors and omissions, right? 36% reduced rework. 30% reduced construction cost, reduced project duration, and fewer claims and litigation. So that's what people are selling, what BIM brings to the table. But what they're not selling is, and these are very small pockets of information, that's only if you implement full BIM across the spectrum. 3D, 4D, 5D. And this is where the problem comes. 4D and 5D is 20 years away from being ever implemented. Because 4D, we don't have the structure for cost control. QSs predominantly are paper guys. They will take their quantities from paper. They don't want to implement 4D. So you've got an outside source that is critical for 4D that they don't want to implement. Estonia, we don't have that structure. We don't have QS, quantity surveying structure. We don't have NRM2, National Rules of Measure. You know, we're relying on estimators to do takeoffs from Excel. So we're not there. 4D is the planning. 5D is the design. But 4D, very seldom it works. It's great to look at it, but who's going to take the time to do the scheduling in 4D? So UPM 4.0 has been launched at the moment. It's been implemented. If we didn't have a problem with BIM, we wouldn't need this. That tells us there's something wrong, that we have to implement this and push it. And it's right for Estonia to do so, to try and get a harmony. But also what we should be selling the fact that it's the 3D BIM part that we're focusing on. It's standardizing that. It's trying to get that harmonized, not the full BIM picture. You know, because if it was perfect, we wouldn't need it. You know? So I said to you earlier, I'm standing here today not criticizing Estonia. What I'm saying is, let's not follow the leader. Let's not just go down that garden path because we're following someone else. We should be standing up and saying where the problems are and where Estonia can actually teach others to do it right. That's the focus. That's the key. Don't follow what the other's doing. Okay? If you look at it across Europe, just an example, you know, it's no different. BIM in the Republic of Ireland, they're pushing now for BIM. You know, they've got all these different events coming up, seminars, you know, all these, like, they're saying 100 million euro projects is fully implemented in BIM, including 4D and 5D. But what they say in reality is, well, we won't actually be able to implement it fully. But we don't want to say that publicly. It's very important. So we've got to break that norm, okay? Take it away and focus on what we can do and do it right. What BIM should deliver is accuracy and detail. Not so much from a costing perspective, but we heard earlier comments about quality. We heard earlier from Mirko about 2 presentations there about some of the nuances. You know, responsibility is put back on the contractor, not the designer. But the designer should be taking that responsibility to ensure that what they're delivering is buildable. And that's what BIM can do. We've got the tool to do it. We should be using it. You know, not just turning out pretty models and looking like pictures. Using clash properly, not saying, well, let the contractor figure out the clash control later. That's where you can start reducing your cost and working more holistically with construction companies. So it's crucial. You know, digital assets, asset register, crucial for projects, but people don't think the importance of it. You know, we work in the data center industry, and that's the first thing that's asked for is the asset register. And can be a 10,000-page document. To do that manually is impossible, but it can be taken from the BIM and developed from the BIM properly. So they're the key drivers of what we actually should be delivering from BIM. You know, what we need to change. Start explaining what the different life cycles of BIM is. So as a design company, or as a bureau, or a construction company, offer that we do 3D BIM, and we do it well. Don't say holistically, we are a design bureau that do full BIM services, because then you're just following the other people down that path of misleading the clients. So start with that, break it down. What needs to change? You know, Estonia, we're compact. We don't have the resources that other industries have. What, 3.9 billion turnover opposed to UK, 300 billion, 400 billion. Ireland is 32 billion. I think Finland, something like that, 35 billion. But we don't have the resources, so we should be using that to our advantage to say that we don't have the mass power, so we are able to implement BIM and give you efficiency back. And that's where Estonia can stand up and start being a leader in that. Okay? So we need to make that change. Simple question. Expectations versus reality. We all think, you know, our partners love to see the flowers and the roses coming out, but in reality what they want is just to help them do the simple things like doing the dishes. You know? My wife would be happy if I found the sink. So if we can find the sink, that's a good start. But it's about, you know, expectations and reality. That's the key. Offer the clients what you can deliver. You know, what we can do, 3D, software, clashes, visualizations, PDFs. Everything gets transferred to PDF, everything goes back to 2D. We still should be saying that. But let's develop the 3D BIM because it's not fully developed. Focus on that. You know, what we're not delivering, information, workflow, validation, structured handovers, we're not delivering that. And if we say we are, We're codding ourselves. We're tricking ourselves. So, 30 seconds to go. I'm a project manager. I deliver my projects and my presentations on time. I'm asking you the question again. Now, honestly answer. I've got 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. I'm on time. Okay, a few more votes in. Come on, don't be afraid. There was 50 votes last time, so be honest after that. Come on, get me up to 50. Okay, will I go? You want to see the answer? Yeah, that's not surprising. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo, for the presentation. I have a question for you. Actually, I have many, but so we just have time for one. But in my experience, the level of BIM implementation is very different in Estonia. It can be really high, and it can be quite something different. In your view, what would be the most important step for the Estonian market that would kind of make the level of BIM implementation more consistent and also higher? What's your view?
We can look at it at a local level and say, let's harmonize and get our standards to Estonian level, which is fine, that covers our Estonian market. But if we as a country and companies want to look at international market, then we need to be standing up there and being the speaker to harmonize across the sector. The biggest problem we have is data transfer, the numerous different softwares. Everybody uses, I prefer Decla, I prefer, AutoCAD, I prefer. There's too much segregation, and we need to start segregating and start saying, no, we need to harmonize, not just at local level, but at international level, at least at the Nordic level, to give us opportunities as companies to be able to expand our business abroad. If we only focus on Estonia, then we're with this blinkered approach. So.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's give a round of applause to Leo. Thank you.